Good day everyone, a Fistful of Goats here. So yesterday you saw one of the best decks at locals, so now I'm just going to show you what I was playing. So today I'm going to show you, I call it KonKon Control, basically pure Rikka. Now you've seen my Sun Avalon deck a few weeks ago. This is not as good as that one, but it's more my playstyle, more grindy, control-y. Essentially what we're trying to do here is set up 1 or 2 interruptions with tributes using KonKon, and basically recurring a monster return to basically out-resource our opponents. So let's get into it. Starting off with the key of the whole deck, 3 copies of Rikka Petal. This is basically the bread and butter of this entire deck. Once per turn you can use it to search any Rikka from deck to hand. And when it's in the graveyard, if you control no monsters or plants during your opponent's end phase, you can summon it back to the field. So this basically, as long as this doesn't get banished, this card is a completely recurable resource loop that can give us the edge in grinding games. And again, in the Savlon build, you play 2 of this, but in the pure build, this is the best card in the deck. You have to max out. In fact, this card is so good, we're actually also running 3 Lone Fires and 2 copies of Perilous Map, because that's how much we want to see this card. Lone Fire Blossom is also really good because it can also, if we already have this set up for a loop, we can get any of our other plants. Map is less good out of this because even though it can get us a Rikka Princess, it's not that great after turn 1, which is why I'm only playing 2 of it. So that's our main starter in the deck. Next we have our Bat Extender in 3 Princess. So Princess can summon herself to the field, but she plant locks you. She's good to make our rank 4, which can go into a negate. And when she's in the graveyard, you can tribute a monster and negate a monster effect by shuffling her into the deck. So combined with our field spell, this card becomes removal and an interruption in 1 card. Also level 4, like I said, so the rank 4 Rikka, which lets us recur more resources, is easy to make with this. Definitely the one you want, the second best one in the deck after Petal. Next up we play 2 Mudans. Now, if one thing I might change about it is again play 3 Mudans. I'm basically using most of the Rikkas I use in Savlon, so the ratios aren't perfect here. Mudan lets you tribute a Rikka to add a Rikka spell or trap to your hand. So basically, what you want to do here is, this card is an extender if everything goes off with a hitch, but it's also another way to carry on your combos if Petal gets hand trapped. Because say they for example, I don't know, Veiler this, you can tribute this off, get Mudan, get the field spell, get Glamour, and go on from there. Now, one thing I would definitely change in this deck in the future, I only had a Primula on me, because again this is from the Sun Avalon list. I would up this to 2 at least. This card can summon itself if you sacrifice a monster. So when you sacrifice a monster. And she can also play with the levels to help you make different XCs. Again, in the Avalon version, you only want 1 of this for room's sake. In the pure build like this, you want to have at least 2 of this for further extension. Next up, we have something you don't see in this Avalon build. 1 Hellebore, and we pair her with 1 Snowdrop. So Snowdrop is a great extender. She can summon herself on another monster to our field, and she can manipulate levels to make it to the next E's. Hellebore is another level 8, so she can help you make Princess. Sorry, Queen. I keep calling it Princess. It's Queen. Anyway, Hellebore is also in her hand, can be tributed to negate in fact the target is a Rikka, which means that she is the best way to get this to trigger. And also, if you have the field spell up, that's 2 interruptions on your opponent in 1 card. Again, she's also level 8, so you can, in a pinch, you can summon her with Snowdrop to make the Queen. Again, not something I recommend in the Avalon build, but in a pure build, she's pretty good. Next up, we have our hand traps. I chose 3 Imperm and 3 Droll in the main. This is purely because of my locals. There's so many decks that this just dies to at locals, like Menadium, for example. I think if you're playing this kind of deck in a more competitive setting, you'd want Ash instead. But this all comes down to personal preference. Next, we have the key to this deck, the card I've named it after. 3 copies of Rikka KonKon. When this card is activated, where you control a Rikka monster, you can search a spell trap, and once per turn, you can basically Monarch Stormforth by choosing one of your opponent's cards for a Rikka effect. I mean, I've shown you all the ways that they can be used. You can basically tribute a monster for search with Mudan. It gives you 2 interruptions with cards like Hellbore. It gives you a free extension with Snowdrop. And also, it turns these next cards into interruptions. 3 copies of Glamour and a copy of Sheet. Now, first of all, yeah, I need more Sheets for this Bria build. 2 or 3 copies of Sheet. So, but basically, Sheet is like Sky Striker with a Wanker, and then it can get and steal a monster. But for the steal to happen, you have to tribute a monster. So, if you have the KonKon up, you can tribute off your opponent's monster, steal another one. That's 2 interruptions or 1 card. Glamour is our searcher. It can by itself search any Rikka card. So by itself, if I open it with no other Rikkas, I can get this at my combos. But if you tribute a monster, you can get another monster at the same level. So again, KonKon, you tribute your opponent's monster, you get. Usually, if you're doing that, you're going to get Snowdrop and Hellbore, or you're going to get Princess and Primula. Next up, for some more disruption, I chose to play 3 Book of Moons. I think in the future I might change these to enemy controllers for more versatility, but this is good at stopping some of the bigger combo decks, because especially with those that are playing a lot of Cyburst cards, because this can put the monster face down and disrupt their linking. It can also protect some of my own monsters from effects. And I'm shocked this card is so old and it's still so good. Next up, we have the 1-for-1 for more ways to get Petal and Called by the Grave, because it's Called by the Grave. You could also play Talent if you wanted to, because if you want to search things like Book of Moon. Next up, for our traps, we have our Floodgates of Summon Limit and Skill Drain. Now, this could be something else. It could be Goals in Match or Rivalry. The reason I chose Summon Limit was, my theory was, if I got my board set up, I have at least 2 ways to treat the opponent's monsters with the Queen and KonKon. So basically, I wait till they commit to those 2 monsters, I flip this, clear their field, and then they can't summon again for the turn. It's not as good as I thought it would be, because if you are behind, this card really isn't very good, and you'd rather see something like Goals in a Rivalry. So, I don't know, I'd probably try that in the future. Skill Drain, there's a lot of big monsters we can make in this deck, and our 2 best effects are in the graveyard with Petal's Revival ability and Princess's Negate effect, so this isn't really that much of a hindrance to us. And yeah, that's the pure Rikka main deck. Let's go on to the extra deck. Nothing too special. 1 Dryas, not as good as in the Savlan build, but it can gain its life in a pinch. 1 copy of Sylvan Dancephone. It's actually really good in this deck, because this by itself can be a rank 4 or rank 8 if you get lucky. It can thin your deck out of multiple copies of, for example, if you already have a Skilled Vin in play, it can mill off dead copies. And it's also, if you can get lucky, it also enables link plays in the deck. 2 Jasmine. This card is a tutor. If we have done the Dryas thing, it can also get us a search. But helps unbreak our hands, help us find our extenders. Next we have some signature monsters. 1 IP Masquerena with a unicorn, because I am not getting Little Knight until she goes down in price. We're also playing the rest of the Nightmares in Phoenix and Cerberus for more removal. Our other IP target is, of course, Metna Avamax, because with IP it's very hard to out. And in a deck that's trying to be grindy and slower, towers like this can be really beneficial. We have 1 Bang Lancer, which is interruption. I didn't go into this very often, because you don't actually make as big a board as you make with the Snavlon build. But occasionally, like 2 and 2 or 3 in the grind, you can come up and be more disrupt the opponent's potential comebacks. For the Rikkas, we have 1 Queen, double Strenna. So the Queen lets us tribute our opponent's monsters and buff herself, which does so. Strenna can actually recur mostly Mudan for future turns, and when she's tributed for, say, Princess, you can make her into Sacred Tree Hyperion for other negates and a big body, which can also stack more XC material on top of itself, meaning it's a perfect target to Zeus. And for our side deck, let's take a look. Triple Solemn Judgment. For just going first, you take out one of your hand traps, you play this instead. For disruption, triple copies of Spirit Water Art IOE. All our monsters other than Lone Fire Waters, so you can use this, tribute one of them, and confiscate a card from your opponent's hand. This is really good if you're playing against a deck that reads one specific card for its combos. Like for example, you can use this to get against Rescue Ace to snipe their searcher. 2 copies of Mind Drain. This is for Vanquish Soul. 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance, because Runic is still running around a lot at my locals. 2 Ash Blossoms. And finally, 2 Shared Raid. Going first, this card is essentially Max C, especially in my locals with a lot of searching. This card lets you draw if your opponent searches after you activate it. So yeah, again, it's essentially a Max C, buff one for going first. And that was KonKon Control, aka Pure Rikka. Like I said, I'd probably go back to Sun Avalons in the future if I'm going to play competitive. But if I'm playing in the locals where I'm not that concerned about winning and want to have more fun, this is much more my playstyle. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.